This dirt bike test video is brought to you by Yamaha. I'm Jimmy Lewis with Dirt Bike Test. Today we're talking about KTM's Freeride E. They've taken their old Freeride, we used to either have a 250 two-stroke motor or a 350 four-stroke motor in it. They've adapted it to accept their electric motor engine configuration. It's a big battery on top of an electric motor with a small, call it transfer case, that runs the power back into a countershaft sprocket. It's kind of motorcycle, kind of bike. I kind of don't know what it is, and I'm kind of confused. I think this is where motorcycles start transitioning. So I don't describe myself this way, but I was told I'm set in my ways. I'm just not accepting of a bike like this. But I am. I actually spent a lot of time. I've got a couple hundred miles riding this thing, which is a lot of charges because everybody wants to know, how long does it last? I can run this thing pretty dry in about 35 minutes. And that's running it on 3. If I want to go 45 minutes, maybe closer to an hour, I go between power mode 2 and 3. And I can just be a little more conservative with how I use the throttle. It's maybe not as fun riding, but you can get places. I'll bet you I could probably do 50 miles safely if I wanted to go for a 50-mile ride. But unfortunately, I like going more than 50 miles. That's why a lot of my bikes around here have bigger gas tanks. But hey, bigger batteries are coming sometime, not right now. Here's the other thing. As a motorcycle guy, I'm completely confused because the brake is up here, because this is where the clutch normally is. I want a brake pedal. There's really not a way to put a brake pedal on this very easily because they've removed some of the stuff where the foot brake used to go. And then when I talk to bicycle guys, they're just confused because this looks like a motorcycle and it doesn't have cranks. And they also think that, well, it has so much power for what they're compared to. And we're talking e-mountain bike guys, has so much power compared to what they're used to. They think it kind of might tear up the trails and they wouldn't feel comfortable riding it where they like to ride, which you're not really allowed to ride a motorized vehicle anyways. So it's in this paradox. It's $12,900, which a motorcycle guy goes, what for? And I'm going to get into this. It's an entry-level bike. The mountain bike guys didn't care about that. They spend that kind of money easy on their e-mountain bikes. They still have to pedal. And then they look at this thing and it has a lot of cool stuff on it. And it's like, that's good. Motorcycle guys, that's kind of a lot for what it is. But I think that the e-future is coming, and KTM has been developing this stuff. This is a better battery than they've had in the past. The engine control is better, although they always knew how to make an electric motor work like a gas bike. Anyway, how fast is it? 50. It goes 50 miles an hour, and it seems like it's speed limited. I saw 51 once, so it's kind of speed limited. And if I ever could describe how fast it is, it's like a 125 two-stroke up to third gear. And then if you shifted that 125 two-stroke into fourth gear and kept going, it would just leave this thing behind. It's peppy, lively. There's great throttle control. You can kind of roll up hills and stop and then roll it on again. Where 125 two-stroke, you'd be all working the clutch. And this thing, there's no clutch. You just work it. I was air clutching a lot. And probably the biggest thing is I would tap the rear brake sometimes when I thought I wanted the clutch because I couldn't do it. And then when I was coming into a turn a little hot, I'd be air stabbing the rear brake, which wasn't good either. But anyhow, it confused me as much as I tried to adapt to it. I think this bike is a great beginner bike, first stepping stone bike, because it's so easy to ride. And especially in Power 1, it's a full-on, super nice beginner bike, very docile. Mode 2, it goes. You can have a lot of fun in Mode 2. 3 gets zippy and peppy again. Not too aggressive, but good. And they built traction control into this. So if you get stuck on a hill and you whack the throttle wide open, it just actually rolls up the hill. It doesn't just start spinning wildly. So it gets a little confused sometimes in deep sand or like in mud. And it's about as good as I've ridden with throttle control on electric bikes and so on. So a couple of the other quirky things is it has a second small battery. So there's the big battery, this one that powers it. And underneath the seat here, there's a little tiny battery which powers the headlight and the taillight. And we actually disconnected the headlight because I left the key on, left the headlight on when I was out talking with my buddies while riding. and it drained a little battery dead, and then this bike would not start. And if you want to hear it start, I'm going to start it right now. So it's turned on, it beeps. I turn that, and I push the start button, and it's live and ready to go. So it doesn't make a lot of noise. It's super quiet, and that is one of the biggest advantages that the electric bikes will have. As far as the handling, the suspension, we played around with the clicks, kind of slowed the rebound down a little bit, stiffened it up a little bit, and it got really nice. Actually, we opened the compression up and slowed the rebound down on the front fork, and it worked good. Not a big fan of the tires. I mean, they do a good job of kind of having good traction, but they're not a real trials tire, maybe not a real aggressive tire. I'd like to try something a little bit different, but overall, really happy with this bike. You can probably get 60 miles on it if you're really conservative. I would call 45 a fair target. You're getting crazy, you're running it out at 30 and all this stuff. So that's what I think about the KTM Freeride E. I think that KTM is going to be on it with some of their mini bikes. And if you start learning on this, by the time you've learned how to ride this thing well, they'll probably have something really cool out there in the E variety soon. Oh yeah. And you have to get a 220 volt plug put into your house with a special adapter, because this thing this is a high voltage bike. It doesn't charge in 110 like some of the others, but charges quick. Charges in about, if you can run the battery down like in 30 minutes, you can fast charge it in 45. So it takes about 15 minutes more than you've ridden it to charge it back up to state. Hopefully that's everything you need to know. If you have questions, ask them in the comments and let us know. Follow us on Tech Talk Taco Tuesday. We can answer 9 out of 10 questions without referring to a reference manual. Again, my name is Jimmy Lewis for Dirt Bike Test, and we will see you out in the trail. Cheers. If you liked what you saw in this video, come check us out over at dirtbiketest.com on the webs. We have bike tests, product tests, a lot of fresh dirt, and you can even support us by clicking through our links. Hopefully, we'll see you out in the trail.